You wake up in the morning and it's just, oh, I got to jump in my business. I got to manage this. I got to manage that. I got to call this customer. So you get in this heightened state of like just busyness. And when you're busy, you lose all your creativity. And when you lose your creativity, you're no longer an entrepreneur. You're just an employee. And so your business can't grow. My name is Ryan Crownholm, and I am an entrepreneur. I run 2 businesses right now.
Welcome to the Break Free podcast. I am your host, David Mancilla. I'm very excited for my guest today. You guys know that, if you're a follower of this podcast, you guys know that all I do is interview brilliant minds that are changing this world for a beautiful, better place that is much needed nowadays. And today we have with us Ryan again. Ryan was with us a couple of months ago, and we didn't get a chance to finish the podcast and go into details on how to actually run beautiful self-managed businesses. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, David. It's great to see you again.
Ryan, just for the people that are maybe listening to this podcast and they haven't heard the other one, can you tell me your full name? Where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Ryan Crownholm. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I am an entrepreneur. I run 2 businesses right now, which are both sort of construction technology businesses. But I'm also an investor, an advisor, and do consulting work and a handful of other things to keep myself busy. Like many entrepreneurs, I get my hands in a lot of things.
That's beautiful, Ryan. But I know that you do that on your own leisure without any stress, without any pain, because you have freedom of time. Just to recap for the audience, last time we talked about you were having a successful business and then you had a tragedy where you almost died and you ended up in the hospital for many months. And you were the one bringing in the sales and the marketing and doing everything yourself, even going to the construction sites. And that forced you to figure out how to actually make a self-managed business. So can you tell me a little bit about that and just that transition from being in a hospital bed with a laptop until actually optimizing your business?
Yeah, so I am an ex-military guy. I got out of the military back in 1999, and in 2000 I started a company that was just a hauling company. I did it while I was in college, and I grew it into what became a pretty successful demolition and general engineering company. Well, about 7 years into running that business, after I had a degree of success, but I was very tied up in it. I worked a lot. I was always out working with the guys. I was, leading from the front like the military taught us to do. And then one morning, a truck broke free down a hill, pulling a 10,000-pound trailer, ran me over, drugged me down the street underneath it, and it crashed into another car, jackknifed. I pulled myself out from underneath the truck with my one working arm and saw that my femur was sticking out of my jeans and my tibia was snapped in half and my shoulder was shattered and I couldn't breathe because my lungs were punctured by the ribs that had broken. And so I was laying there on the street dying, and got lucky enough to have an ambulance show up within about 10 minutes or so, get me to a trauma center and put me through 12 hours of trauma surgery, putting in rods and screws and pins and plates. And so I woke up on July 4th. That was on July 3rd. July 4th, I woke up and I had lost all of my physicality. And that is the thing that had grown my business. It was me leveraging the only thing I had when I got out of the military. I was a very hard worker and I knew how to do manual labor. So I leveraged that. And so losing that, I thought for sure my business would die. And I had to look at other ways that I could keep it afloat because, this was a lot of work I'd put into it and I didn't know what else I was going to do. So over the next 2 years, I had 6 additional surgeries, putting my body back together. And during that time, I had to restructure my business. And so I had to learn how to operate from the background because all I could do was sit in front of a computer. I couldn't go out and work with the guys anymore. I couldn't drive tractors. I couldn't drive trucks. And so it ended up really being a blessing. And those lessons have sort of, 7 years after that, I had a really nice exit on that business. I sold it because it was so attractive because it ran itself. And so I've started 2 new businesses since then, and both those businesses are very much self-managed. And so yeah, it's been a painful journey, as we know, as an entrepreneur, but incredibly educational. And so hopefully I can share some of those lessons with your listeners.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the recap. I need to emphasize that you wrote a book that talks about this in detail. Can you just put your book together in the screen, please, and just tell me all about it? Because I highly recommend people to buy this book if they want to automate their business.
Sure. So it's called The Hustle Trap, and it's a how-to guide to doing less and making more with your business. And that's something that took me 20 plus years to sort of refine. And so I had, during the whole COVID thing, I'd moved out to Colorado, and I was just looking for something to keep myself busy. And so I started journaling, and I spent several months sort of just writing down some of the principles that I've operated under, not so much on the tools, because tools are sort of, as you can see, change daily now, but
Yeah.
really on the principles that it takes to run a business by yourself, self-managing. And it's been really useful to a lot of people. And so I'm really proud of that book.
It's so beautiful, Ryan, that I get to see patterns. I'm a computer scientist, so I'm trained to how to see patterns in life. And I get to notice that people that have a good heart, after they become successful, all they want to do is help somebody else get successful. That's why you wrote the book, and that's why you're coming back to this podcast, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's also, I had an episode last year of cancer. And so, had stage 3 cancer, but I had some surgery and eventually beat it. And, after the near-death experience before and that, it's like, sometimes you start to think about your mortality and about all the things that you've spent so much time learning and whether it's just going to die with you and someone else could use that information. And so I've been really trying to help out, anyone that I can. I do a lot of work with veterans. I do a lot of work with formerly incarcerated people, having to leverage their unique skills and abilities into an income. So yeah, and hopefully the book has touched some people in the same way that your podcast will.
Thank you, Ryan. It's incredible when you actually start touching about death and what's coming after. That's when my faith comes in, right? And I'm so amazed because you and I have different faiths. I'm a born again Christian. You're agnostic, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that we can actually talk about these things in this podcast without hating each other, because this is one of the things that I don't like in the society right now. Social media just came to just divide people. And, it's not, we no longer agree to disagree. We actually have to say our opinion, and your opinion, and you're a fool if you don't think the way I think. And that's not the way it should be, right? Like the stuff that you're doing, many people that, in different religions actually not doing it. And if you actually follow a religion of love, they should be doing what you are doing, right?
That's the religion I'd like to follow. Your beliefs are just as valid as anyone else's beliefs. It's the idea of a higher power is something that I will never deny because it's impossible to. I just haven't settled on what's the right story. But I think that we are one, and we need to all help lift each other up.
Yeah, actually, when you look at the Bible, as I don't want to share my story because this is your podcast, but I had a lot of trauma in the last 2 years and went back to my faith, and so I started reading the Bible, and the Bible says that once you become a believer, once you go into the light, you actually become part of God. You're actually, if you read, just read the book of John 17. That was the last prayer that Jesus did before he died on the cross, and he reveals who we really are once we become believers, and we actually become one under God. We become the body of Christ, if you will, and we become, so the way he pictures it is he's a light, and we become part of that light, part of the body of the light. And that's my true definition of enlightenment.
I did this. I did about a 15-mile backpacking trip a few weeks ago, and I got up and did it by myself. And I got way up into the wilderness all by myself, and my body was tired. And I sat by this little lake up in the middle of nowhere, and I felt exactly what you might call God. And I suppose it was God. It was some version of it. It was just the serene nature being part of something bigger than self. And so, I love your beliefs, and anybody else's beliefs, because we are all the same.
Ryan, did going through your near-death experience when you were struck by that, when you got run over by that truck, help you go through your stage 3 cancer last year?
Yeah, it was really traumatic for my wife because I didn't meet her until after I had my last accident. And so for my wife and family, it was really difficult. For me, it was, here we go again. Whatever happens. And it's, just life is going to go, and, You have your controllables and you have those things that you can't control. And so it's one thing I learned during my accident was to focus on the things that I could control. And that's how I managed my business, and it's how I managed my relationships, and it was how I managed my body. It was those were really traumatic times, but those 2 years was really educational to me. So when I got the cancer diagnosis, it was like, okay, here we go. What is it? What can I do? What can I control? And let's manage those things. And so for me, it wasn't a big deal, but it was really, really difficult for my wife to deal with.
I can imagine for sure. Once you touch your mortality, I believe it goes with age too, right? Like when you're a teenager, you're a kid, you're in your 20s, you think you're going to live forever, and you think you're invincible, right? You're in your mid 30s, starting to wear off, and then once you get into your 40s, 50s, you're like, okay, this is not forever. I am actually vulnerable. I can do it when God reminds me of this when I work out. I still work out. I don't work out the way I used to, because I used to love working out. And now when I'm lifting weights, I'm like, I am lifting half the weight that I used to lift, and it's harder.
Yeah. I'm going through that right now, starting to recognize that I'm not a 20-something-year-old, and trying to do exercise. Yeah, I still go rock climbing, and I run, and I do a lot of things that are probably not smart for a guy my age, but I'm doing them lighter, easier.
Yeah, because I think like what happened for me was that I was working out for my ego. So I started to work out to restore my health, but I went past my health and I started building, started bodybuilding, and I became in love with myself. And that was terrible because I was doing it for my ego. Now the difference is I work out to stay healthy. So I don't do anything so extreme, more lightly, right? Like I used to work out 5-6 times a week. And I used to be in this crazy bodybuilder's diet with 7 meals a day and counting macros and micros. And now I'm like, I work out 2-3 times a week, and I take it easy, and I'm still okay. I'm very healthy.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I've thought about the same thing of like, hey, I could go to the gym and get a little bit bigger. My body tends to grow quickly, and then I go to the back end of it. I go, but boy, the diet it takes to maintain that. As far as like maintaining my protein and balancing everything. Forget it. I just want to go. I want to stay lean. I do a lot of pull-ups and push-ups, body weight exercises. I can climb a rock wall. I can run 10 miles if I have to. I'm good. I don't want to be, I don't want to be a musclehead anymore. I spent too many years doing that as a kid, and all I did was injure myself. So.
And you know what, Ryan, is I read a book called Younger Next Year. I read that book when I turned 45, I think. And basically what you and I are doing, and by the way, for the audience, even if you're a younger entrepreneur, you're going to get to where we are. And the book talks about this idea of being younger until you actually die. So instead of if you see people, they go down. So every year they get less and less healthy because they don't have good habits. And then they start getting into pain, and some people even end up in a wheelchair or with diabetes, or just because they are not taking care of themselves. What this guy did was he actually hired a doctor and he hired a trainer to keep him as healthy as possible until he died. So if you see his chart, like from his 50s all the way up to his 80s, he was in a beautiful, like high flat line of health until he finally died. And that's the goal, because it's like my dad, right? My dad never stopped exercising. He died at 82 with a pulmonary disease. But he told me, I will never, ever go out in a wheelchair. So he actually walked out of his house, and the fire department and the paramedics were waiting for him because he was about to die. And he didn't allow him to get him in a wheelchair. He actually walked out of his house on it. It was finally time to go down the stairs. He actually got into the wheelchair.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's the way that I want to go. And I think I made a commitment too, is that I will just only do things that I'm willing to do every day for the rest of my life. And so, if it was like before I was a yo-yo dieter, like I'm going to drop 20 pounds. And so to do that, I'll train for a marathon, and I'll do a bunch of running, and then I'll do my big marathon, and I'll drop the weight, and then I've accomplished my goal. And then I just go back to old habits. And so this was like a cycle for me. So up and down 20 or 30 pounds my whole life. But once I just said, I'm just going to do stuff that I'm willing to do every day for the rest of my life and forget it, which means I walk my 15,000 steps a day. I walk a lot all day long. I get up and I wake my body up in the morning by doing some pull-ups, which feels great, stretches my shoulders out. I drop and do some push-ups while my coffee's brewing. I can knock out about 50 of them. Do leg workout once a week, and that's good. That's good. I feel good.
And
It's
you don't
good.
have remorse, right? Like for me, what was happening is I was always feeling regret because I wasn't disciplining myself to go to the gym and work out like I used to do. So once you drop that and you say, exactly what you're saying, I'm going to do what I'm willing to do every day, then you have a happy life because you're not like you are not actually kicking yourself in the butt because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
That's right. Exactly. So we feel good. We feel good, and it also makes you happier. I want to be happy. Exercise makes you happy. That's the thing. People always say, I want to live a long time. I want to look good. I want to feel good until I'm 90. But the side effect of exercise is a larger dopamine release. You're a happier person because of it, and so you live a happier life. And if there's one thing that's going to make you live longer, it's that. It's being happy and making people around Ryan, you happy.
I was talking to my wife from the weekend about this. We're in our 50s. And this is profound. Everything in life requires a level of commitment and some pain. Mm-hmm. When it comes to your health, you have two choices. Are you willing to go through the pain and the commitment of exercising and eating properly? Or you're going to exchange that for the pain of sickness and disease? Yeah. And I tell you one thing, sickness and disease is 10 times worse than disciplining yourself to have a good, healthy life.
Choose your pain.
Choose your pain, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly, my man. Well, we're on the same page.
And Ryan, to do all this, it requires time and money. And that's why I got you back in, because it's not easy, brother. Like, even for me, I run multiple businesses. The businesses that are completely self-managed is because my other partner runs the company. And the last business that I needed to completely self-manage was my main business, the main breadwinner. And for the longest, I couldn't actually figure out how to do the lead generation and the sales. And turned out that I needed to do some investing in that. And thank God in the last 3 years, thanks to my business coaches and being disciplined and spending the money, I'm completely self-managed now. And now I run a sales meeting a week. I don't run it, I attend. So that's 1 hour. And then I have a marketing review every month. That's 2 hours. That's pretty much it. And then I have my town hall meetings where I actually motivate my people because I love doing that. I love working on culture. That happens once a month. So if I'm working 4 hours a week, it's a lot. And it's a blessing because that's why I have the time to do this podcast. That's why I want to give back. That's why I wrote the books that I wrote. And you are the same as me, right? So tell me, what's the secret, right? Like if you have a company, you go to a business, the business is profitable, but the owner is doing most of the heavy lifting. What advice will you give this person?
Well, I'll back you up a little bit and just say that you say you maybe work 4 hours a week, so you have time to do your podcast and do your other. That's work. It's just the fact that you love it. So the idea of running a self-managing business is not to do nothing. It's to set your business up so you can do the things that you want to do that really fire you up and get you excited, because those are where you're going to excel the most. And so, having your business where you wake up in the morning and it's just, I got to jump in my business. I got to manage this. I got to manage that. I got to call this customer. So you get in this heightened state of like just busyness. And when you're busy, you lose all your creativity. And when you lose your creativity, you're no longer an entrepreneur. You're just an employee. And so your business can't grow. And so the idea is like to start to separate yourself away. Make a list of what do you hate the most, all the way down to what's your favorite thing. Start at the top of that list and just start getting rid of them. Finding, technology solutions, people, processes to eliminate those, because you don't want to do those things. And when you get down to the very bottom, even the things in your business that you love to do, you start to push those off as well. Because if you love it, but you have to do it, you have to show up, then it's a requirement on your time. It feels like it's robbing you of your time. And so I set my businesses up to where they just run themselves, except for when I have a new business or a new project that I'm really excited about. I understand that I have to put a lot of work up front. Front-loading business. There's no such thing as that. You can watch a million YouTube videos about how to, build a $1 billion company from your basement while working 10 hours a week. It's not going to happen. Doesn't happen. It takes a lot of work to start a business, but once you do have the foundation, then pulling yourself out of the business is great. People spend, I mean, I do consulting, and when I do consulting on a company, I go in there with, like, I don't understand the company. And so it takes me so long to get up to speed on the company and then to start pointing out the areas that need improvement. Well, the best person to do that is the CEO, but the CEO is so busy inside of the company, often he can't step back from the 30,000 foot level and look into the business. And so he hires an outsider who's not going to have nearly the context that he does. And so I always say, be your own consultant in your business. Don't hire me. Separate yourself from the business, and you'll start to see things within your business that you can fix. And this is what I did after my accident. It wasn't just about pulling myself out of my business and then fixing that business. I actually started sprouting new businesses. I started recycling centers around the Bay Area. And so we were recycling millions of pounds of electronics. I started a property preservation company where we were fixing up homes for banks because all the foreclosures were happening. So I started like seeing all these opportunities with my business that I was blind to. And so that was sort of the idea about why I've decided, like, now when I start a business, it's like, okay, I got to get myself away from it. Trust the people, trust the processes, get them in place and step away. Let it break and fix it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it does require commitment and pain, exactly like as the working out and as living a healthy life. For me, it was a 3-year experience, a 3-year adventure where I sacrificed a lot of my EBITDA into building these departments and trusting that the people will do their job properly. But guess what? Now I have a company with a foundation that will become $100 million company or $1 billion company for that matter, because it's a self-managed business, right?
That's right.
So now we just need to put more water and it grows.
That's right. Yeah, it grows. And occasionally you'll see opportunities where you can step back in and maybe reignite a part of your business or start a new brand offshoot of your business. You jump in and you work a bunch and you set that up and you step back away again. And so that's the rhythm that has worked really well for me as an entrepreneur, because most entrepreneurs are very ADHD. We're all over the place. And so starting a business and then just running that business for the next 20 or 30 years is like the death of an entrepreneur. Nobody wants to do that, and so keep your options open. Yeah,
for sure. You're right. Most entrepreneurs are ADHD. I just discovered that myself last year, and it was my saving grace, if you will. That's specifically why you need to self-manage your company, because you can invest that energy in other business ventures or adding more departments or more lines of revenue to your own business. For me, my limiting belief was that I couldn't get anybody that could sell because I run a software consulting firm. So you need to have a lot of technical expertise, but you also need to be, outgoing and have the business acumen to actually sell. That was my worst problem. It was myself. Once I figured out that actually there were people like me in the market that are willing to get a job and get trained, you know what I did? I grabbed a senior architect with 10 years of experience writing software and leading teams of software people. And I actually realized that he was an extrovert. So then I actually took him and set him up in a sales training course for about 6 months. And then I gave him sales training myself. I started taking him with me when I was closing the deals and building the projects and the contracts. Now he's been by himself for 2 years. And now I'm building a team around him because he's getting exhausted because the company is growing. Yeah. That was the breakthrough for me, right?
Well, it's the funny thing is that I think I was a pretty decent entrepreneur before my accident, but what I didn't know was to trust my people. I was good at hiring people, and I was pretty good at processes. And so, but what I thought was, like, if I'm not on the site supervising, leading from the front every single day, these guys are going to flounder. They're going to, the whole company's going to fall apart. And in fact, the opposite happened. Everything was running perfectly smooth. And maybe I was just a cog in the wheel being out there. It was like, how is this business still running without me? What? You people are just, it was like, I was blown away at how my people stepped up and how capable they were. And I think that I, as a business owner, was like, no, that's not possible. I didn't believe it. And so you just have to have faith in yourself that you're hiring good people and trust them.
For sure. Let's talk about marketing, because one of the things so what I was doing for my business for the longest is bring the leads in. So I was actually doing the marketing and then I was selling. And that was what I couldn't automate for the most time. Like I just couldn't figure it out. So I started with marketing, and what they were doing is brand awareness. So thanks to that, I could actually close faster. So when I will get a lead, they will see my reputation, our reputation online, and they will realize that we're a good, trusting company, and it will be easier for me to close the deal. But the marketing wasn't generating any leads. And I tried and I spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and it was not making any leads. So I had, again, limiting belief. Marketing does not bring leads. I have to go get into a plane and go get the clients myself, like a hunter. Plus, I was ADHD. I used to love that stuff without knowing, right? Why would I like to go get into a plane? So I was traveling every 2-3 weeks, right? To different states and different provinces in Canada. So when I finally decided this is it, if I don't automate marketing, I'll close the business up. I don't care. When I actually said, I'm going to burn the bridges, that's when it started working. How did you do it? How do you do it in your end? Like, how do you actually figure out the marketing and the sales on your first company that you automated?
Well, for my first company, we had okay. So for Dig a Demo, I had a blog that I had started. One of the things we did a lot of, we removed like 300 swimming pools a year. And wow. So I had a very authoritative blog, which was I started writing on that. And then we had the whole world. I had people from Australia and Canada, everywhere else, emailing me constant questions about pools. So it created a sense of authority. And then, I would use that as the blog, and then Google AdWords and a handful of other things to drive traffic in. And then we would have a sales rep that would show up with, an envelope that had, it just basically social proof. It was, we had our insurances and our licenses and everything in a folder. And then we would give them a quote, and we would say, here's the last 100 jobs we've done. Feel free to call any of them. I would encourage you to call 10 of them, 3 of them, call any one of them that you'd like. And then, I'd finish by saying we're not going to be the cheapest. We're not going to be the most expensive, but we're going to be the best. Our prices aren't negotiable. If you end up hiring someone else and want to use us as a resource during the process to ask if everything's going fine, feel free. I'm here for you. We land 95% of the jobs. So I trained all my sales reps to do exactly the same thing. They went out and did, and so that these, we were taking out 5+ pools a week, and these were, $10,000 to $20,000 each. And so they were very profitable. And so that was my marketing funnel. But every business has a different marketing mix. Before that, I had a hauling company, and that one was back then. It was about the yellow pages and about the newspapers and how many A's you had in front of your name. You probably remember this, like way back when. And that was just so. I really love creating systems that bring in inbound leads, meaning people who are already interested, and then just dominating on closing them. Now, I've never been big on building the outbound because my businesses have not. They just haven't. I've never found the right mix for outbound marketing for my companies.
We're exactly the same, Ryan. Now that I finally figured out the marketing piece, I didn't do it myself. I hired the right people. I did the who, not how. I don't know how to do this. I'll figure it out by hiring the right people and compromising to spend the money, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the first thing that my staff did. Exactly what you said. They started writing blogs about what we did. We became a source of information, a respected source of information in the computer science field on the marketplace for different industries that we service. And because we already had the background reputation, we already had a lot of clients that love us, we could actually piggyback on that. And then again, the Google AdWords, the email marketing. By the way, the email marketing, all we do is add value. Yep. Maybe at the bottom of the email is, oh, by the way, if you want to learn about what we do, click here. And that click here has bring millions of dollars to us. But we have sent literally hundreds of thousands of emails per month. So this is the thing, like the concepts are simple, but they are not easy to follow because you require discipline and you require commitment on investment, right?
It comes down to, well, be a source of information, be an educator, teach your clients about how to do it properly, and they'll want to hire you, and then treat them well. You grow, being repeat customers, as you know, repeat customers and referral business is everything. especially when you're advertising on the internet and you know what your customer acquisition cost is. Because if you have exceptional customer service, you don't have to make anything on the first job. You can make it on the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And if your competitors have crappy customer service, they don't have the customer lifetime value you have, meaning they can't spend as much as you. You can literally lock them out of the marketplace by having exceptional customer service. So we are the best of the best in everything that we do.
That's another thing, the commitment to have the highest standard, right? When I started my business, I was very high up on multiple corporations on the IT department, right? So I was in charge of a lot of people. And when I decided to open up my own business in 2005, my boss told me, did you know that there's 2,000 companies in Toronto alone that they do what you do, and they have a lot more experience than you do? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I need to try for myself, for my family. And if it doesn't work out, I can always go back and get a job. So that's what I did. Those 2,000 companies that he mentioned, 98% of them are out of business.
That's
and
right.
I'm still in business after 19 years, right?
Yeah, people get really intimidated about starting businesses because of exactly that. They come up with this brilliant business idea, and then they go online and they Google it and they see that there's 50 other people doing it, and they go, oh shoot, someone's already doing it. It's like, just do it better. Just do it better. Like, it's not hard. Most people run businesses like crap. They just don't know how to run a good business. And so you can just run them over. Find an industry where everybody is a poor operator and outperform them. And you can dominate the entire industry. And it's very easy to do.
And the one thing that the pitfall that I saw, and thank God I had mentors, right? But the first pitfall that I saw, and I see in many entrepreneurs, is that they focus too much on profits at the beginning. And it's all about making money. What you need to focus is in adding value. You need to focus on making sure that what you're doing is the best in your capability of doing. And you're not the best, figure it out and go get trained and get the right people. And then the profits will come. I'm not saying run a business in negative, because I've always been profitable. I mean, except for the years that I was figuring out myself. Probably out of the 18 years, I've been not profitable for 2 years. But the point is, the money will come, but if you focus on the money, the business will go away.
Yeah. Money will come. Put your margins in there. Set your business up. Have faith in it, and then grow your business. And it just starts to churn eventually. You just start to make money. Actually, with one of my companies, that I have another startup that I'm working on called Dirt Match. We're trying to fix the dirt problem in the construction industry. And this one is from the very beginning. We said we don't care about money. We want to add value. We need to make ourselves extremely valuable in the marketplace. We don't know how we're going to make money, but we're going to make money doing it. And so now we're there a couple years into it. We have thousands of users, millions of yards of dirt being exchanged. And then we just start plugging in little points of monetization. We do like a little monthly subscription and an RFQ system and a little bit of advertising. And it's so easy. Every time we put something in there, money comes in. Because the value's there. So, I always say that if you want to make $1 million, create $2 million of value at a 50% profit margin there. So how do you create $2 million of value at 50% profit margin? Figure that out, and then you make $1 million. But people go the other way around. They go, I need to make $1 million. That means I need 1,000 customers to pay me $1,000. I'm going to go out and look for people who are going to pay me $1,000. And that's the wrong mindset.
Exactly. Yes, for sure. And this is where we have to remove this horrible idea that you can become a millionaire in a short period of time running a business, because that's a misconception. It's a huge misconception. There is not such a thing as overnight success. You have to put in the work at the beginning, especially like you and I. Like, I didn't get any funding. I bootstrapped my business. It's me, myself, my time, that's it. Right? And my credit cards. Yeah. Basically, that's how I got it going.
My first company, I started, the only loan I ever took was a $15,000 student loan, non-forgivable student loan. I had a full scholarship to college, but I needed a dump truck and I didn't know where to get the money from. And so I went to the college, said, well, you can get a $15,000 loan for school. I said, perfect. Great. So I took it's non-forgivable, by the way. You can't wipe it out. And so I took that money, I went and bought a dump truck. And that was sort of like what led that business and started growing and becoming more efficient. And so, I haven't raised money ever for any of my businesses.
It's
My
beautiful.
business is that's not what business is about. That's not what entrepreneurship is about. But this entrepreneurship, the whole tech industry has bastardized what a startup really is. What entrepreneurship is taking a bunch of resources, aggregating them together, where the output of those resources exceeds the input. That's the alpha. That's called profit. And like people get so confused on this point. They go, no, I need to raise money and I need a bunch of people and I need headcount and I need evaluation. And I like those are all nonsense. None of them mean anything to me. All I care about is how many hours did I work and how much money did I make? Tell me those two things.
Yeah.
That's what's important to me.
And Ryan, and that's the great differentiator. People that are believing in becoming an Uber or becoming an Airbnb or becoming a Facebook don't realize that those are called unicorns, and they're called unicorns for a reason. And even those companies, they had very humble beginnings. It's very easy to play business. When you have I had two daughters, so one time I when they were little kids, I bought them a Thai kitchen with everything, make believe as a kitchen, and they played cooking. And I see these kids nowadays, well, now not so much because the money is drying out, but they come and they have this brilliant idea and they play business. They don't make business, they play. It's like, let's go and play business and use somebody else's money, and people actually lend them the money.
Yeah, I wrote an article recently for Forbes it was titled, "Don't build a unicorn, build a workhorse." And because that's what I do. I build workhorses. I build things that go to work for me. That's what I want. I'm not, if you look at what a unicorn is, you go through the VCs, and the VCs will invest in 100 businesses. 90 of them are going to fail, and they already know it. Maybe 5 of them are going to break even. 3 of them will make a little bit of money. 2 of them are going to make a lot, and 1 of them is going to be a home run. So that means 99%, even the VCs know that 99% of the businesses they invest in are going to zero, are going to be worthless. And by the way, those ones they invest that's out of 1,000 companies, they've only invested in 100. So do you want to be in a space where if you're starting a business, you have a 0.1% chance of success? Hell no. I'd rather go be a plumber. In 4 years, you start making $200,000-$300,000 a year as a plumber, and that's almost guaranteed if you put in the work. So I'm a different kind of entrepreneur, I suppose.
I'm in the tech industry, and I run 4 other startups with other friends of mine, but we know how to run them for profit, right? Yeah. Exactly the stuff that we were talking about. I almost fell into that trap too. I mean, it works for some people. The only reason why I would actually say you have a startup, go raise money and go fail is just to have some lessons learned. So if you will ask me, should I get an MBA or get a startup going? I always say, go get a startup going. But you don't have to. You really don't have to. If you have a profitable business idea and you bootstrap yourself and you are willing to go through the pain, because what money does is tries to take the pain away from you, but then you pay it more when you fail, when you waste. I remember a company here in town, $5 million, 3 years, complete failure.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to become points in businesses where you'll need money, and equity is the very last place you should look. If you really have conviction, take a second mortgage out on your house. Take a go to the SBA and get a loan. Don't give someone a piece of your business to finance it. To me, it's just crazy. It's a business model that, to me, it's steer clear.
Yeah. I actually have done that before, Ryan. When I actually decided to go serious on marketing and sales investment, I took a loan based on my EBITDA on the previous year because I needed cash liquidity. Why? Because most of my money was invested in real estate and cryptocurrencies, and I wasn't willing to sell. So I got the loan. It was a 5% interest loan, but I didn't give a single share to anybody. Now I got to pay that loan back in 5 years. Guess what? We're going to pay it out maybe in a year and a half. Max a year and a half, because the money is already producing results, right?
Yeah, and so what would that 1% be worth now if you would have sold 1% at equity?
Oh, no, yeah, you don't want to do that.
2, 3 times, 4 times the loan?
Yeah, and you know what I'm doing? And I did it mostly because of my people. When you and I were set, like, we have more money than we were ever spending by. Let's be real. And if you compare yourself to the rest of the world, oh my God, like we're in 0.1%, right? What I did is I actually gave the company back to my people. the people that made me the person who I am, the seniors in the company, I stopped doing bonuses per year. I actually give them the choice. You want more shares of the business? And then you're going to get dividends the next year. So we actually give dividends at the end of the year. We don't actually give bonuses anymore. Nice. And so my point is, now that it's completely self-managed, if I ever want to sell, all these kids will become, they will, if not rich, they will actually, at least they're going to be mortgage free, right? Yep. So if I actually go to somebody else and get capital investment and give 40%, 30%, 20% of my business to somebody that I don't even know just because of the money, I'm actually cheating my people.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Good for you. Good for you. Lucky, and you have very lucky people that work for you because you understand that. Right. The people are how businesses run.
But it's been a blessing, Ryan, because I actually worked with a lot of startups because of the nature of my business. I get hired by a lot of startup companies to build their platforms. And I see it and I know it. And I've been doing this since 2007 on startups. I live in a place, it's called the Canadian Silicon Valley. We have over 2,000 startups just in town, right? So the whole ecosystem is here and I know what not to do.
Yeah. Good for you, man. And by the way, I've used your service. You guys are exceptional.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ryan, we ran out of time again, but now I think we went deep into the trenches. I highly suggest people to get your book. It's on Amazon, right?
Yep.
Super. One last question again. The billboard question. What would you write on a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth?
I love David Manzilla.
No, you cannot say that.
Maybe retirement is a lie for all those poor people that give up 40 or 50 years of their best years thinking that retirement is going to be this, this wonderful, amazing thing. And then they realize that, they can only sit on a beach drinking Mai Tais for a week before they're bored. I think it's really sad to see. And so I think that would be it.
You're right. Oh my God. We could talk another hour about this, but you are so right. Going back to the beginning, having a self-managed business is not about watching Netflix all day long. It's about giving back my time to the world. Like I have been so blessed so much that I want to give that blessing back in terms of knowledge, information, in terms of just, if somebody listens to this, they can actually change their life just to this episode, right? But that's why I have the self-managed business, not to go in and actually we went on vacations with my wife last week and, we did a 3-day vacation and that was more than enough. We went to the beach and, we went to a white, beautiful sandy beach and it was gorgeous and we ate and we prayed and we read the Bible together and it was beautiful. And then at the end of the 3 days, it's okay, time to go back. Because we're so excited about the stuff that we're doing.
Your life is a vacation.
Exactly, yes. When you're doing what you love, your life is a vacation. And don't get me wrong, I love my businesses. I still go and see them and contribute from above, not inside.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Awesome. Ryan, God bless you, brother. Merry Christmas if I don't see you. We're recording this almost in December. Have a wonderful time. And if people would like to get in touch with you or buy your book, where can they find it?
RyanCrownholm.com. You can find everything about me there or at Ryan Crownholm on basically every platform.
Fantastic. Ryan, God bless you and have a beautiful rest of the day.
All right, David. Thank you, brother.
Cheers. Yeah. That was great.
All right. That was fun, man. Cool.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmanzilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.